Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Fluent and Fearless. I'm Katherine Arthur, a pronounced speech and accent specialist. I'm a speech-language pathologist, accent and pronunciation specialist, and a radio broadcaster, and I'm so glad you're here. Now, if you're considering accent modification, you may have asked yourself a deeply personal question, and that is, if I change the way I speak, am I changing who I am? Now, that's a powerful question, and it's also an emotional one. And that's because for many people, accent modification is not just about pronunciation. It touches identity, confidence, belonging, self-expression, and the desire to be understood more easily in everyday life. So let's talk honestly about something many people think about but rarely say out loud. Is accent modification reinventing yourself? Well, in some ways, yes it is, but maybe not in the way people fear. And that's all coming up next. On today's episode of Fluent and Fearless, I'm Katherine Arthur. Now, when people hear the phrase reinventing yourself, they often imagine becoming fake or abandoning their roots or trying to become someone they're not. But in reality, reinvention is often much healthier and sometimes much more ordinary than that. It can simply mean developing new skills, adapting to a new environment, growing into a new season of life, and becoming more intentional about how you show up in life. And in that sense, accent modification can absolutely be a part of reinvention. And it's not because you're becoming someone else, but because you're learning how to communicate in a way that helps you move through your life with greater clarity, greater confidence, and with much more ease. So as you're going to see, reinvention, that's really not a bad thing. And take it from me, I know all about reinvention because I've reinvented myself a couple of times now in my life, and that was out of necessity. And someday I'll treat you to that story. It's a long one. But for now, let's talk about why accent modification feels so personal. Well, for one thing, your voice, that's personal. The way you speak often reflects where you're from, the languages you grew up with, your family and culture, your lived experiences, and your sense of identity. So it makes complete sense that changing the way you speak, even slightly, can bring up some big feelings. And when people undertake things like accent modification, they might wonder to themselves, am I losing a part of myself? Or am I trying too hard to fit in? And will I still sound like me? And those are valid concerns because speech is not just technical, it's emotional, but healthy. And I underline the word healthy. Healthy accent modification training should never ask you to erase yourself. It should help you express yourself more clearly and more confidently in the environment where you work, where you live, and where you connect with others. That's a very different thing than asking you to erase your identity. Because accent modification, if it's done right, is not identity erasure. That's one of the biggest misconceptions about accent modification. Working on your speech does not mean you're rejecting your culture. It does not mean you're rejecting your background, and it does not mean you're rejecting your identity. And it certainly doesn't mean that you're pretending to be someone else. And most important of all, it should never come from a place of shame. At its best, accent modification is simply a communication skill, and it can help you improve the clarity of your speech, reduce misunderstandings, feel more confident speaking English. It can help you communicate more comfortably under pressure, and it can help you feel less anxious in professional and social settings. And when you think about it, we don't usually question other forms of communication growth. For example, people work on public speaking abilities and executive presence, storytelling, interview skills, leadership communication, and confidence in meetings. Accent modification belongs in that same category, and it can actually teach you all of those things. So accent modification is not a rejection of who you are. It's a tool that can help your message land more effectively. So why do people reinvent themselves? People rarely, very rarely, reinvent themselves for no reason. Usually they do it because something in their life no longer feels aligned with how they want to live. Often there's a gap between who they are inside and how they're being experienced on the outside. And they want that gap to shrink. And that's often what brings people to accent modification coaching. Here are some of the biggest reasons that people reinvent themselves and why accent modification can become part of that process. Number 1, people want more confidence. Repeated communication struggles can wear a person out after a while. So if you're often asked to repeat yourself, or you're misunderstood or interrupted while you talk, or overlooked in conversations, and you become hesitant to speak up, that can all chip away at your confidence. So accent modification is not about sounding better in those instances. It's about wanting to stop feeling tense every time you speak. And that's not being vain. That's not vanity. It's called getting relief. Another reason why people might reinvent themselves is that they want their communication to reflect who they really are. Now, many ESL speakers know exactly what they want to say. They're thoughtful, intelligent, funny, capable, warm, and highly skilled people. But if their speech feels effortful or it's not clear, they might feel like other people are not fully seeing them. And that disconnect can become incredibly frustrating. You know who you are, and you know what you bring. But your communication doesn't always show the full picture. And that's often what makes people consider changing. Not because they want to become someone new, but because they want their speech to better reflect who they already are. Now, a third reason why people might reinvent themselves is that they want more professional opportunities. Now, let's be honest. Communication does affect opportunity. People may pursue accent modification for a number of reasons. They might want to interview more confidently or lead meetings more effectively. They also want to feel more comfortable when networking and speak more clearly on calls. That's a big one. Also, people want to reduce misunderstandings at work and communicate with greater authority. Now, that doesn't mean that their accent is a flaw, not at all. It means they're navigating real-world environments where clarity matters. And that's not self-rejection, that's strategy. Now, a fourth reason why people may reinvent themselves is that they want to feel more comfortable socially. Communication challenges happen everywhere and not just at work. For many people, the hardest moments happen in everyday life, such as meeting new people or making small talk, talking on the phone, for example, or joining in group conversations, asking questions, or just speaking without overthinking every single word. When those moments feel stressful over and over again, people often begin to withdraw, and they may speak less, they might avoid speaking, and they might shrink a little bit inside. And that's why accent modification can feel bigger than just working on my speech. It can help people participate more fully in their own lives, and that matters. And the fifth and final reason why people might try to reinvent themselves is they want to feel more in control. One of the most empowering parts of accent modification is that it restores that sense of control. When communication feels difficult, people start to feel stuck. They might feel stuck in repeated misunderstandings, or stuck in self-consciousness, or stuck in habits regarding their speech that they don't know how to change. And accent modification can shift that mindset. It reminds people that speaking is a skill, and skills can improve. That realization alone can be life-changing, because sometimes reinvention is really about reclaiming control over how you move through the world. Now, is reinventing yourself a bad thing? Not at all. Reinvention becomes unhealthy only when it comes from self-rejection. Now, if the motivation for accent modification is that you feel like you're not good enough as you are, or you want to erase where you come from, or that you want to become someone else to be respected, well, you're just setting yourself up for a lot of pain, and honestly, those goals are going to be difficult to attain, if at all. But if your motivation for accent modification is that you want to communicate more clearly, you want to feel more confident, you want your speech to better reflect your ability, and you want to feel more comfortable in life, then that's not something to be ashamed of. That's where you have a potential for growth. And that's self-development. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to grow. You can grow without losing yourself. That's the heart of it. That's the heart of accent modification. Growing without losing who you are. You don't have to choose between being authentic and being understood. You don't have to choose between honoring your background and improving your communication. You do not have to choose between sounding like yourself and sounding more confident. All of these things can coexist. In fact, the best accent modification work should help you sound more like yourself at your best. Not less like you, not more robotic, not performative, and not less connected to who you are. Just more clear, more comfortable, more confident, and more free. So here's my final thoughts. Is accent modification reinventing yourself? Well, maybe in a way, yes it is, but maybe what feels like reinvention is not becoming someone fake. Maybe it's becoming less held back, less hesitant, certainly less frustrated, less self-conscious, and less exhausted from constantly repeating yourself, and more able to say what you mean with confidence. And if that's reinvention, that's not a bad thing at all. It may simply be personal growth. So keep this in mind. If you're considering accent modification, whether it's with me or another accent specialist, and if you've ever worried that improving your speech means losing part of yourself, you're not alone. Many people worry about that. But accent modification should never, I repeat, never be about erasing your identity. It should be all about helping you communicate with greater clarity and greater confidence while remaining true to yourself. And with that, this is Katherine Arthur, a pronounced speech and accent specialist. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today on Fluent and Fearless. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with anyone who uses English all day at work and in their personal life too, and wants to communicate more clearly and more confidently. And remember, if you speak English as a second language, you know that you've already accomplished something remarkable. You're working, collaborating, and building relationships in a language that isn't your first. But you know that even highly skilled professionals sometimes feel that their spoken communication doesn't fully reflect their expertise. For example, people will ask you to repeat yourself, meetings move quickly and it's hard to jump in, and you just want your voice to sound as confident as you truly are. If this sounds like you and you're looking for answers, that's where my free guide can help. Speak with Confidence. It's filled with tips to help you sound more natural and more professional when speaking American English. Get your copy of this free PDF guide today. All you have to do is go to my website, pronouncespeech.com. pronouncespeech.com. Click the blue button near the top of the page, and this free guide will be on its way to you. It's that simple. It's Speak with Confidence, a guide for ESL professionals. Again, go to pronouncespeech.com. pronouncespeech.com. Click the blue button for the free Speak with Confidence guide. It's right near the top of the page, and your free guide will be on its way. And you know, I really love giving people free gifts. That's why this work I do matters. I really love helping people get the gift of clear communication. Now, get out there and turn that little spark of self-improvement into a flame and be the best that you can possibly be. And while you're working on that, be sure to check with us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Pronounced Speech and Accent Specialists. I'm Katherine Arthur, Katherine with a K, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Look me up on social media, drop me a message. I really enjoy talking to each and every one of you. So do that and do that soon. Again, Katherine Arthur here, and until next time, keep speaking, keep showing up, and keep reminding yourself that your voice deserves to be heard. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time on Fluent and Fearless.